Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Welcome to the final week of June.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It just crept up on me. I was like, oh, it's like 4th of July weekend
That's
this
right.
weekend.
Yeah.
So
Coming up. Yeah, for sure. There's right now it's 26th of June. Glad to have you aboard. And a good morning to you. I wonder what's going on in Russia.
who the heck knows, Bill? I'm really reluctant to even, say too much about it because there's so much stuff coming out and you don't really know what to believe, especially because we know that both sides are really good at propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea. What have you heard?
Okay. Well, I heard that that was one of them coup d'etats, as I heard one announcer say one morning. But
yeah, that's interesting.
And so this guy, I think they're finally fed up. In many cases, a lot of Putin popularity is dropping like a safe and free fall, and one of the reasons is because I think Russian parents are kind of like ours. They don't want their kids killed, especially for nothing. We had those Vietnam protests when I was coming along, and then we had other war protesters going along. But these Russian soldiers, when Ukrainians ask them on the street, "What are you doing here? What is this?" They say, "We don't know. We're just following orders." And thousands of these kids are getting killed. They're losing some of their top generals. We've had in the last over the last 40 or 50 years, I think we had a lieutenant general that was killed in Vietnam, one, and a major general that was killed, I think, in Afghanistan about when the Dalai Lama was still president, unfortunately. And but the Russians have had generals killed right and left in this thing. Their equipment's getting bogged down in some of the mud and everything else. I know it looks like they're winning. It looks like they're winning because they have so much more equipment except for the stuff we're sending to the Ukrainians to try to counteract all that. But the fact that these kids, they don't know what they're fighting for. The Ukrainians do. They're fighting for their homeland. Well, the Russian kids are just saying, well, "I'm just following orders." And they're dying by the hundreds. And I think the parents are finally fed up with that. A lot of the soldiers are fed up with that. And then the commanders are fed up with that, as that was proven by this guy that pulls off the coup the other day. It didn't work out. And they say, we're given, okay. And somehow negotiations they didn't get to Moscow, of course. So they said, well, the negotiations are where this guy is going to get a reprieve of some sort. They send him to Belarus. Well, there's a dream come true. Boy, Belarus is really nice, especially this time of year. But he and his cronies, all the other soldiers that were behind him, they say some sort of reprieve, and they may get some sort of forgiveness. Forgiveness from Putin is really a stretch, because all of a sudden you drink a cup of coffee and you're dead within 24 hours. He has a way of getting at his enemies. So this guy better get a food taster if he knows what's good for him, and that's not going to be the last place he's going. But it also, for all the experts that I've heard over the weekend that know about, that have been there and have worked in CIA and behind the scenes at State Department, have said that for the most part that Putin's grip on power has been shaken considerably. And that we may get there. So we don't know what's going on in the Kremlin. As Winston Churchill called Russia one time a mystery wrapped in an enigma. He gave some long list of you keep peeling the layers of the onions back before you finally get to the truth in that place. And it's been that way ever, for forever. So we don't know exactly what's going on, and the experts that tell you that they do, I don't think really do know, unless you're actually there on the ground.
Yeah, because I've also heard that, he actually is still favorable with Russian people because he controls the media. So I think that that's part of it. And the Russian people are just curious as to what's going on. So that's kind of what I've heard. But
I've heard the opposite.
Yeah. So that's why I said there's so much.
Yeah, he's not that popular with the people.
Yes, well, and we have all of these countries coming out and supporting Putin. So I think that that's also an interesting thing. I do think that people are, I think that Ukraine has always been corrupt. They have always laundered money, especially for the U.S. And I think people are sick of it. I think there's a lot of countries that are just done.
Well, but yet we're continuing to send them just about anything that they want. More every time we turn around. Congress has just signed another $16 billion bill. $16 billion that we don't have, and that's I'm getting a little tired of that.
Well, does this have anything to do with the debt ceiling? Like, were they allowed to just keep writing checks? I think like, I don't understand the Republicans. They have a little bit of power, not much, but the power that they do have, they just sign it all away. Yeah. Sign it all away, give it to Biden, give it to the Democrats. Let's keep spending money and at an irrational rate. Like, the amount of money that they're spending, Bill, is crazy. We don't have it. We haven't had it for a very long time. Why are we continuing to send money to an empty pit?
We haven't had a budget. The Congress hasn't had a budget, I know, in over 20 years, which is unconstitutional. I mean, they're supposed to have a budget, just like we have here in Georgia, just like we have here in South Carolina, that we have a balanced budget. Okay, we can't spend some money in some places. We can't hire more highway patrolmen that we need. We can't hire more of this or that. We have to do without this for a while, and eventually the volume gets built up in our budget so that we're able to, as Governor Kemp recently said, okay, teachers are going to get a $5,000 raise last year, and they said, I know that's not quite enough what we promised you, but we'll give you another $5,000 next year. That's the way it's supposed to work. It's not supposed to say, okay, we're just going to sign off on this and we're going to borrow some more money.
We'll figure it out later when our great grandkids have to still pay this crap off. Yeah. Bill, the Ukraine war is the biggest scam. The Zelensky, he's worth like billions of dollars now. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, here we are.
It is one of the most unbelievable things that we've ever been through. But Vietnam was bad enough. You would have thought we'd learned some lessons there. Apparently we didn't. Didn't learn any lessons from Korea, didn't learn any lessons from Vietnam, and now we're not learning any lessons from Afghanistan or that quagmire that we were in for 20 years. And then we just pull out and leave our enemies billions of dollars worth of state-of-the-art equipment. But if we'd have left old Abrams tanks, I'd have been mad. We left the new stuff. It's unbelievable what they've gone through, and of course our Chinese buddies and the Russian buddies came in and started reverse engineering all of this great equipment that we have. So congratulations on any of the top secret information that we might have thrown away there.
Yeah, Bill, I don't know why. Actually, yes, I do. This administration has sold out the American people. Yeah, end of story. End of discussion.
Yeah. And the Constitution and the founding fathers said we have a right to, when we don't like what's going on in the government, we have a right to replace it. Well, we need to start replacing these people, and there should be some provision where we said, all right, let's have special elections. I kind of like the way England does it. That said, okay, we don't have much faith in this guy. Let's have a vote on whether. So they've thrown out two prime ministers within a 2-year period. One of them, I don't think. What was the last lady? Didn't last for 6 months.
Yeah,
I mean, like it's like, okay, we don't like what you're doing. You're out of here. And I think I'd like to have a little something like that. That we've had. Okay, this president and vice president and the rest of the Democrats in Congress have sold this country down the river. You're gone. Okay, you like it over there? Go.
Well, here's the other thing, Bill. We have to be able to have better candidates, and I think that means we need a more educated populace. So people need to know who they're voting for, where they're just voting for the name they've heard the most. I mean, honestly, that's what people do, especially in primaries. If you don't know anything about the candidates in primaries, stay home.
Well, that's the reason that they want to keep you stupid. The peace-loving Muslims have done it very well over the centuries, where the kids grow up. The girls can't go to school at all. If they are, they're killed, and so they can't read. They don't teach the kids to read, except for the people that want to be the imams or something, and so they tell them what's in the Quran. They don't know that that's not in the Quran or what the Quran really says, because they can't read it. So we have the same thing here of kids that graduate that have to have a recording of their diploma because they can't read it. And when you have a population that keeps voting for the same people all the time, it's because They haven't been educated. We don't teach civics anymore. They can't tell you how many branches of government that we have and why we established a tricameral government in the first place. And they don't teach the Constitution, especially. And the Constitution ought to be taught from kindergarten on. It ought to be by the time kids graduate from or get out of the fifth or sixth grade, the Constitution ought to be coming out of their ears. And the Federalist Papers as well, of why we established this country and the way it was established, and to get good people in, because when they first established it, the founding fathers said, this won't work if we don't have people who have a moral basis and understand what is happening. We go back to the quote from Benjamin Franklin when a lady asked him after the Constitutional Convention, Dr. Franklin, what do we have? He said, a republic, madam, if you can keep it.
Yeah, it's not looking real good. And our friend Steve is with us this morning, Steve Statton, and he says, I'm afraid the corruption is so deep and wide, going to take something massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have any ideas, let us know. But
at the same time, it's massive or whatever. It didn't get here overnight. This was incrementally one of those things. Creeping. It started just by small things. This is something that Jesse Waters, there's a great book out from Jesse Waters called The Anti-Communist Manifesto. And what he explains is, he said, you see, if you're out there mountain climbing, you're walking down paths and you're going through, mountain valleys, and you see a great big boulder that's just crumbled up and it's been knocked to pieces. He said, how did that happen? How did this big rock around here fall apart? Water. And you say, what? I said, water. Over the years, water starts seeping in. There's little cracks here and there. Then it freezes and expands. And pretty soon it starts cracking. And he said, the communist is water. And compares it to that. They don't have a timeline, but they run for school board. They run for city council. They get some bureaucratic job somewhere, and it spreads that way. It is the rot from within. It's cancer, and that's exactly how it works. That numerous people have always said, when you said this or that is happening, I remember when I was growing up and said, that could never happen in America.
Here we are.
And here we are.
Well, also,
it's happening in America.
Well, just a little side note on our city specifically here in Savannah, they have decided that they are going to try and name a road after Ann Levette because she was so successful here in Savannah. So.
Already?
They talked about it at the last city council meeting.
I'm a 40-year broadcaster here. Nobody naming a road after me or a hamburger or anything else.
Yeah, so I guess just corrupt and fail the school system here, and you're in good shape.
Well,
you can have a street named after you, but I think that's what you have when
we
you're
have
not
a
getting
bridge
the right
here named
people.
after some corrupt. We have a lot of corrupt politicians have got bridges named for intersections or whatever. Yeah.
Well, so I think we have to have better people in these positions. So if you're in Chatham County, think about what position you can run for. I know no one wants to do politics, but we've got to get better people in there because the people that want to do politics should not have any access to our cities or our city funds.
Exactly.
So when we get back, we'll be talking about what kind of access did Hunter Biden have?
Yeah. Does he have a top secret clearance? At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the shield since 1934. with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potato's Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this morning.
Yes, and our friend Steve Stanton is with us, and he says, our own governor went to Davos this year. Our Congressman Carter uses the talking point, no one is above the law when responding to Trump, but look at Hunter and Joe.
Yeah, look at Hunter and Joe.
Unbelievable, Bill. The stuff that's coming out, you have to understand that people, our Congress people and our senators, going back to the fact that we need quality candidates that are willing to do the right thing.
Exactly.
You can't have all this information coming out and thinking, you know what, he still should be the president of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone could come to that conclusion.
Well, and especially the fact that we just had we were talking earlier about the situation with Hunter being at a banquet of some sort with Merrick Garland.
Oh, I mean, they just happened to be at the same place at the same time, Bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Amy Klobuchar was asked that tower of idiocy.
She still keep getting invited to things.
She was on with F. Chuck Todd on Beat the Press yesterday, and one of the things that he brought that up, and she said, if this is what the Republicans are going to run on against this wonderful president that's brought 13 million and half jobs back to America.
Lie.
The Saul Alinsky talking points are just amazing. They've all got the book memorized.
Yes.
Of saying he didn't create 13.5 million jobs. How come there's a help wanted sign in every window that you see in every establishment? My wife and I were riding behind an 18-wheeler yesterday that was hauling cypress wood or something. It's got a big tarp over it, and it said looking for drivers, 800 whatever, 800 call this number.
Yep.
And I said, how come we need so many 18-wheeler drivers, and how come we need somebody at the coffee shop? How come we need somebody at the hairdresser? So on and so forth. Why do we need every fast food place you go in? Sometimes they have the cafeteria closed down. You just have to go through the drive-through because they don't have people to work the front line. Well,
so they've paid people to stay home. They've hurt small businesses. Number one, with COVID shutting everyone down, not allowing them to be open. But number two, when they could open, they've paid people to stay home, and they've continued to do it. And people, they might not be getting the extra stipend that they were getting during COVID, but they've decided life is pretty good to stay home and get paid by the government. Mm-hmm. So we've created a whole class of people that don't want to work.
Yeah, it was bad enough with all the welfare programs that we've wasted our money on.
Well, I think the other thing that we have to consider is that we're seeing people that are vaccine injured. A lot of the people that were vaccinated now have huge health problems and a lot of autoimmune diseases and aggressive cancers. So you take that into consideration. We're seeing more young people than ever be impacted by early onset diseases and autoimmune. So I think that there's a lot to that as well. And then you have an uneducated population. So even truck drivers, you have to be somewhat skilled to drive a truck.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we just don't have that.
We have, in fact, I have a friend who's got his son has a CDL, which is the license you need in order to drive the big trucks, but he also has an issue of bipolar, so he can't be on long hauls.
Okay.
So he can only maybe do short runs. So he's got if he can't get the big job, driving the big rigs. But he could drive around town or something. But why? Why are we seeing all of this? I never even heard of this when I was in high school. I never heard of anything about food allergies. We serve peanuts and peanut butter sandwiches and stuff all the time. I never heard anybody talking about whether or not about that we can't serve this because somebody is allergic to peanut butter. If somebody's allergic to peanut butter,
Well,
God,
now
let me
it's like
slit
a
my
big deal.
wrist.
Yeah, now it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Have you seen all of the RFK stuff that's coming out right now? He's talking about vaccines when they were created in the 80s, and we started mass releasing them. He's like, 5 of his 7 children have a lot of allergies. And he's like, where did that come from? Why all of a sudden are we seeing stuff like this? And, I thought a lot of the anti-vaccine stuff was like crazy people 10 years ago, like being, just making it hard for everyone. Right. And now looking at what happened during COVID, I mean, my attitude has significantly changed against vaccines because I don't trust it anymore. There are certain vaccines I think that, we've seen work, polio, those types of things, but the vaccine schedule just continues to increase.
Those were created in the 50s.
Exactly. But the vaccine schedule continues to grow for children. So they're getting more vaccines than ever. And we're seeing more issues than ever, including, I believe it's I can't remember the percentage of increase, but of people that have autism now. I mean, it's the number is outstanding.
It's through the roof. And it's that it is something that we're going to have to delve into, and we need more people like Dr. Marty McCary and people like that are that actually are putting their careers on the line and their licenses on the line by going and telling the truth. And some of these, Marty McCary was on yesterday talking about the no more need for masks or vaccines or anything else, that we need to start getting back to just getting kids well educated and getting them some good nutritious food.
You've heard me talk about that, Bill. I think that the food in this country is poisoning a lot of people. I was at Costco yesterday, and just walking out of the store, I'm just baffled. Everyone's overweight. Everyone. And it's the food we're eating. And the fact that they put sugar in everything. It's addictive now. We're all addicted to food.
Yeah, it really is. My wife was actually commenting on that. We were out and about at City Market over the weekend, and these are people from all over.
Yep.
And we sit down at Vinnie Van Gogo's to get a slice of pizza, and some people were coming in that didn't need a slice of pizza, and the kids too.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and yet they would have they were eating whole pies as opposed to a slice.
Well, and we're the only nation that has
fat poor people.
Exactly. I don't. You knew what I was.
Fat poor people. Yeah, I was one of the guys that came in from India years ago said, I wanted to come to a country where even the poor people are fat.
Oh, it's something.
Okay, yeah, plenty of food. We've got plenty of food, not enough nutrition.
Yes, and Lizzie Warren says, "Eat to live versus live to eat."
Yeah.
You're exactly right. I think that we get way too much joy out of eating these days, and it definitely shows across our country.
Well, it's interesting. My wife is a big loves wine, but she every time she drinks a glass of wine from a domestic wine, she gets a headache. She drinks we were over in Europe and she was drinking the European wines.
Nothing. Yeah,
there's something.
They have an additive here in the U.S. that they use. I can't think of what it is right now, but it is in all of the domestic wines, and I think that's a huge...
Take it out.
Yes, huge issue.
Yeah.
Steve Stanton says, my dad was a preacher. I went to public schools. We knew hundreds of people coming up never saw a Down syndrome until the 80s.
I don't remember going to school with anybody that was. I remember you had one or two.
It was pretty rare.
It was rare, and you call Fatso, and they had all sorts of nicknames and things that we shouldn't have called them, or said or made fun of them for their size. But they were few and far between. Meanwhile,
I wish that Hunter Biden's shenanigans were few and far between, but he seemed to do a lot of damage in a small amount of time. And one of the things is that, I think Paul Manafort was his name.
Yeah.
He went to jail for not being...
solitary confinement.
Yeah, for not being a registered agent, I think was one of the charges. So
registered agent, please.
Yeah, and Hunter Biden, what's he been up to? Byron Donalds had something to say about that.
I think right now we're looking anywhere close from 17 million to 25 million dollars. And frankly, all this is between the time of Joe Biden's last year as vice president until he was sworn in as president of the United States. One other thing on Hunter Biden. He was operating as an unregistered foreign agent. They threw Paul Manafort in jail for the same thing. For less than what Hunter Biden has been doing, as he's gone on every junket, every overseas trip, and has been shaking down foreign countries, foreign companies. The WhatsApp message demonstrates that fully.
I just can't believe, Bill, that we've allowed this to happen and that he still continues to go on Air Force One and go on trips with his dad across seas.
Yeah, he was just up the street with us at Kiowa Island just recently. He's living the life of Riley, and the amazing thing is how not only the Democrats but the media, but I repeat myself, circle the wagons on this cretin and the Biden family itself, is that they keep telling us, we keep hearing that they make these excuses that, first of all, it was the Russian collusion thing for Donald Trump.
Forever.
So, and they're still making it.
Yeah, they're still saying it. The Russia.
Yeah,
still.
Yeah, and we show all this evidence, and unlike Adam Schiff, who never showed anything, said, "Oh yeah, we got it." For 4 years, nobody even asked him. Finally, when somebody did ask him to produce the documents, he couldn't do it because he doesn't have them. He's making this up, and he's going to be your next senator from California, God forbid. Whoever, I don't know who's running against him, but for goodness sakes, let me know, because I'm going to be donating to that campaign.
Right.
But they continue to circle the wagons on this idiot and this entire family, and the excuses that they come up with are the most specious arguments that you've ever heard in your life. When they said, we've got the recordings now that they have released of Biden and Hunter talking to, what was the Chinese guy he's talking to? He said, I'm here with my dad, the guy who said he didn't know anything about and never talked to his son about his businesses. Well, I think you have to learn how to speak Bidenese, because it was actually Joe's business. So really, he didn't talk to Hunter about Hunter's business, because it's not Hunter's business, it's Joe's business. And he said, I'm sitting here with my dad, and you know my ability not to ever forgive anybody. To always hold a grudge. You better send us that stuff right now, or there'll be hell to pay. Your life is going to be miserable. And it's just amazing that we keep hearing this time after time after time. We have all this evidence, and yet they sit there and they say, well, we don't know. We're just a recording. We don't know if his father was sitting there with him.
Again, no one really knows, right?
Well, even if he wasn't sitting there with him, the act is treason.
Well, the fact that he's using his dad's name anyways. And
yeah, exactly.
Our friend Lizzie says, Hunter making millions off hotel quality art. You're absolutely right. I think that that's also a money laundering scheme. That should be listed in their profiles. Professional money launderers.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to have more of that hotel quality art. Have you seen some of this stuff?
It's such garbage.
Yeah, there's a place downtown we had a beautiful place downtown called the Mulberry Inn, and it was taken over a few years ago and destroyed by whoever took it over. And it now looks like a correctional facility of some sort.
Oh.
And you go in, and I saw a painting, whatever it was, on the wall, and there's this big black blotch, and it's got these paint, and it's got the drips coming down, and each one of the little ends of the drip is a different color.
Oh.
And I said, what is that piece of crap hanging over there? That's art. We paid $7,000 for that. I said, God, I'm going to be an artist.
I know. Let's do it. We'll open our own art studio. And when we get back, we'll be hearing from a former president who is talking about that text message between CCP.
That's on the way.
Drew, I didn't think this was supposed to be a serious show.
At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like.
rather than my skills, I want to be judged
By my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted.
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up,
I want to be offended
By my coworkers.
and walk around the office.
On eggshells.
and have my words policed.
By HR. Words like
Grandfather.
Peanut gallery. Long time no see.
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety
And do workplace sensitivity training.
all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist.
I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here on this Monday morning, here going down the home stretch for the month of June.
Yes. And this weekend, 4th of July weekend, 4th of July is my favorite holiday. I know that it's not everyone's, but it is mine.
Okay. I like it too.
Yes.
And ask some of your friends what 4th of July is for. Just go down and do a little man on the street type thing, person on the street, transgender on the street, whatever it is, on the street. And ask them what the 4th of July is all about, especially the younger kids.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to get some of those responses. It's,
Sure
most of
will.
the time you're going to hear it's about barbecues and fireworks. So we'll see how that goes.
For sure.
Well, Faith and Freedom had their big event over the weekend. One of the highlights from that was, of course, that all of the presidential candidates were there. I believe the only one that got booed was Chris Christie.
Joe
No
Biden was
surprise.
there? Was Joe there?
No.
Oh.
These are Republicans.
Oh, okay.
Faith and Freedom, I don't think
Yeah.
any Democrats are going to be attending.
No,
that,
not many.
just for the record. But Faith and Freedom, great organization, and they had an overwhelming array of support for Donald Trump, which is no surprise. But he had something to say over the weekend that was, people were shocked he said it, but he did.
Joe Biden is the most corrupt president in the history of our country by far. Just 2 days ago, a very respected IRS whistleblower, used to be very much, you remember when the Democrats used to love whistleblowers? They don't like the whistleblowers now. Revealed that Crooked Joe sat in a room while his son Hunter messaged a Chinese Communist Party official and said to this Chinese Party official, I quote, "I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled." This is cash he's talking about. Yeah. Tell the director, and it doesn't get reported in the newspapers, Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand. And now means right now. It means tonight. You believe this? I didn't know he was that tough. And if I get a call or a text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me, my father, right next to me, Pop, hi Pop, and every person he knows, you will regret not following my direction. Now, can you imagine the newspapers not reporting this? Not a word of it in any of them, mainstream. I'm sitting here waiting for the call, he said, with my father. I'm sitting here with my father waiting for the call. In other words, send us money. Within 10 days, the Bidens got $5.1 million from China for absolutely no reason. They got $5.1 million. In fact, they've taken tens of millions of dollars from China. And that's probably why maybe he's not complaining about the fact that they're building military bases in Cuba. Maybe that's the reason, I guess. Mike, what do you think?
So I do think it's a huge problem, Bill.
It is enormous problem, and the fact that the Chinese are not in Cuba, hell, they're all over Africa.
Yeah, but I think
they are buying up. They are bribing and buying up and going up behind tin-horn dictators all over the place. And the fact that they're in Cuba. Remember, we had for those of you who weren't around, but I was around during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we thought that we might be going to war with Russia. I mean, the flag was up.
Well, and this is 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This is a huge concern.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of coverage for this out there right now.
Gee, what a surprise!
I know, right?
We got to talk about the latest Britney Spears incident or Taylor Swift not going in cooperation with somebody else. Yeah.
I haven't heard any of that because I don't really care. But
the media does.
That's the thing. Those are the things that are important, and it's because we also have a dumbed down society. We actually had an intern here, and when speaking with her, she's like, "Oh, I don't really like to watch the news. I like to be entertained." And so most of the news she was getting was from our show.
Yeah, they're totally oblivious to what's going on. And if you watch Jesse Waters when he does his man on the street stuff. And they're asking people when he goes out to the beach and talks to some of these kids out there about who we fought in the Revolutionary War, who bombed Pearl Harbor, and any thing that you should know from studying U.S. history, which proves that we're not teaching U.S. history.
Correct. For a reason, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because then they could pick up on indicators
reason.
of where we're headed.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent reason that we're not studying that. Once again, you keep the people ignorant. And we sometimes I sometimes juxtaposed ignorant and stupid, and they are not the same thing. Ignorance is just simply a lack of knowledge about a particular subject, and we have a lot of ignorance going on. And they say ignorance is bliss, but we got a lot of happy people running around.
I will say sometimes as much as we watch the news, we hear a lot of things. I mean, there are so many people that are just continuing to live their life, and they don't understand any of the risks that we're in at this point in time. And I kind of am a little bit jealous of people that are
we still
in bliss, I guess.
We still have the it can't happen in America crowd.
Yes.
And you try to explain to it, well, it is happening. Well, that's only an isolated incident. That's not happening overall. Yes, it is. Once upon a time, they were isolated incidences, but as we pointed out earlier, one builds up on top of the other. Something that I think that we ought to also look into, Brittany. There's a story today in Fox News about a cultural expert and psychologist is concerned about the empathy dip in America's public. Found that no more clearly illustrated than the hateful comments online directed to the victims of the submersible. We now know that those folks, when we left you Thursday, we weren't sure. We were saying they might be running out of oxygen. They ran out of oxygen on Sunday, a week ago, yesterday, because the device, that underwater submersible, imploded about 2/3 of the way down to the Titanic. And I remember hearing one of the experts who said, "Okay, they lost." He said when he heard on Sunday, last Sunday, that they lost navigation and they lost communication. He said you can't lose both and survive. And so he said he knew right away that they were gone. But this cultural expert found that the hateful comments that were directed online to the victims of the submersibles was just said the victims, and it gives the names of all. And one of the sad stories is that it was Father's Day, and the kid that died didn't want to go, but he said, okay, I'll go with Dad, because it's Father's Day. He wants to go, so I'll go with him. He didn't want to go, but the fact that they said that on the search was ongoing, but said the wave of hateful and mocking comments erupting online said, sort of eat the rich, apparently, because that you had to be pretty
$250,000.
Yeah, $250,000 per seat. So you had to be pretty financially savvy in order to get on this thing in the first place. But for what this guy was charging, by the way, he should have had better equipment, shall we say? Should have been top of the line stuff instead of a Nintendo device as his guidance system.
Well, also, being a millionaire, you want a lot of value for your money usually. And if I was to walk into that, I would be like, absolutely not. I am not stepping foot in this. I am not going, that far underwater in this thing. It's not going to happen. I do think I've heard a couple of things about this. One of the things is that they kept it in the news because of what was going on with Biden and things like that. It really took over the news cycle. The other thing that I heard is, they were also maybe trying to notify all the families before they let everyone else know what had happened. Regardless, I do think that they knew on Sunday and they allowed the story to keep going till Thursday.
Yeah, and there was hope against hope. The Coast Guard was going to keep going, and the rescue effort was going to keep going but the Navy said even on Sunday a week ago, said, we heard some sounds that sounded like an implosion that were very similar. And these people are experts on sounds of that nature. It's kind of like if you ever saw one of my favorite movies is The Hunt for Red October, and the guy the chief sonar guy. I mean, he would tell you. He said, the people are. He could tell a Russian submarine from an American. So he could tell you what kind of submarine it was. You heard somebody fires a torpedo. He said, that's a Russian torpedo. It's not an American torpedo. I mean, just from the pitch and everything else. So these guys are experts that know this stuff. And so, but it was, hope against hope. And you're right. Keeping that story, is the top story. But but this psychologist, and I agree with, says, why does it seem hard to feel sorry for rich people that might die in a submersible or anywhere else for that matter? Said memes making Titanic jokes and quips about the foolhardiness of the submersible passengers abounded on Instagram, TikTok, and other social media platforms. Said, I really think right now our culture lacks a lot of empathy.
I think we've dehumanized each other a lot. I think that
exactly.
The divide that they've created, I think that has a lot to do with it. Rich and poor, black and white. I cruel to the families to keep hope alive. I do think that that's true, Lizzie. But I think that we live in a culture in which we are being taught to hate each other. And I think that allows for a lot of this empathy to not be there. We see these shootings, these people that take baseball bats and hit people in the head, like no consequence. They don't even react. And so they walk up to people, shoot them cold blood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a lot of that. And I do think that has a lot to do with the great divide that they've created in different classes. Again, rich and poor, black and white.
Well, defunding the police.
Yeah.
And it hasn't helped the situation either. That goes right back to that. And a lot of these kids, I think, might think, okay, I'm going to shoot up my classmates, but we'll hit the reset button. They'll be back tomorrow. Just like they are in my video game.
I do think video games are probably not great. We're seeing little kids start playing these at like 3 and 4 years old.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a good thing.
I so want to go up to parents at the grocery store or something,
yes,
where they've got the little 3-year-old or something in the
cart. Yep.
Instead of helping them shop, they're doing stuff and they're helping. Oh yeah, look at this, and like, take that thing away. Take that over to Goodwill, and let's send it to China or something. There's a place like that. Let those kids come up ignorant.
Yeah, we could go on and on about this. This is a pet peeve of mine, but we have to take a break.
Yeah, coming back, the state of journalism today. This is the subject you want to talk about? Greg Gutfeld had a little award that he gave last week for it. Next.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here as we head down the home stretch for the month of June. 26th day already.
What a fast month that was. It's been a fast year.
Uh-huh.
I feel like 2023 is zooming by. It couldn't be because I feel the election approaching very quickly.
Yeah. Having grown up on, somebody like Johnny Carson, who was the Tonight Show host for over 30 years, he's a better host dead now than anybody alive. But Greg Gutfeld, totally irreverent, took over the same 11 o'clock slot on Fox and started just burying the late night comedians who seem to be their only mission in life now seems to be making fun of Trump and Republicans and Christians and that sort and white people. Even though they're all white, which is amazing. So, yeah, but Greg is totally irreverent. And he has all these awards that he gives sometimes. His opening monologues are sprinkled with some, pretty corny jokes, sometimes totally irreverent. But he always makes a very good point. One of them is the state of journalism today. Last Monday night, he decided he was going to give a special journalism award to a particular writer for something that he, Gutfeld, had said on an earlier show called The Five.
So this is where we honor writers who impress us with their brave journalistic pursuits. And tonight's winner, we get right to it, Jeremy Bailey, a writer for the rap and entertainment website. On Friday last week, he broke a major story about a famous TV anchor saying something shockingly disgusting to a co-anchor. I believe we have tape of what actually caused the uproar.
A lot of these homeless services that are getting a lot of money, more and more money, it's not working. The solution is in listening to the homeless, like the woman who says, we are spoiled, we need tough love, or we're never going to get off the street.
Greg, what do you think about that approach?
I agree with everything the little lady says, and I'm sorry about the cart. Now, did you catch that? Panelist Greg Gutfeld, otherwise known as me, referred to Dana Perino as a little lady. And talk about a microaggression. Here's a quote from Bailey in the rap. Perino and Gutfeld often trade witty barbs and banter, but Perino is also a veteran news anchor whose career dates to a stint as the White House press secretary during the G.W. Bush administration. While it took her a beat to register Gutfeld's reference to her as the little lady, she laughed it off. And she continued. Now, you'd think that I just told Dana to take off her shoes and get in the kitchen where she belongs. Which, by the way, is what I say to Jesse every day. But apparently the writer was shocked at Dana's response, which he described as, quote, unfazed. Yes, unfazed, like she's a war reporter continuing a live hit while bombs are raining down. What an ass. So what was she supposed to do? Fly into a rage, slap me across the face, even when she knows how much I like that? So why doesn't she care? Well, the reporter could have answered it himself if he knew the topic he was writing about, but that would require journalistic ability. So why should she be unfazed? Would she be unfazed over being called a little lady? She flunked the "you must be tall" sign at an ant farm. She's small enough to be a stocking stuffer. An oven mitt is her sleeping bag, and nothing slows her down except for glue traps. And I've seen Chihuahuas carry her in their purses. And always make sure she's not in your pocket before you wash your pants. And her above-ground pool is an empty Cool Whip container. She was the bride figurine on her own wedding cake, and her pronouns are teeny, tiny, and itsy bitsy, and she's always picked first for limbo, and she's used to being under the microscope when having her clothes tailored. She goes sledding on a pink eraser. She proves good things come in small packages, especially when she's smuggling heroin. Breaking news, a woman can take a joke. Anyway, not deterred by this sordid history, the writer, knowing he had the scoop of his lifetime, actually reached out to Fox, our company, for comment. And that went right to our Gutfeld complaint department.
Hey, Joe, we got another request for comment. I really need you to take care of this, all right?
I'll get right on this.
Thank you.
So the Wrap expected Dana to be offended, and they decided they would be offended for her as well. But how offended was she really? Well, we go to Dana for comment.
Hey, Jeremy, if you think that's offensive, you should hear what I call Greg in private, like how he's a no-talent chicken full of horse. I've got more talent in my than he does in his entire, and just being around that makes me want to all over the floor. I mean, I know squirrels with bigger than him. Do I need to go on?
Oh, wow. Clap. Oh, you clap for that. Now, being fair and balanced, unafraid, and also gorgeous, we went to Jeremy for a comment, right? Because that would be fair. Yes, we actually reached out for a comment on him needing to reach out for a comment, and we tried to review his other writing to see if it's parody or if he's always this stupid. Here's the actual email we sent, and so far, there's been no response. So what a perfect microcosm of the current journalism landscape. People who don't know what they're talking about trying to create a scandal off a single throwaway line. That's journalism. But it's not just them. Yahoo News reprinted this story. And I know what you're thinking. What's Yahoo News? But there's a whole ecosystem of stupid lefty takes. It's like a terrarium, except the reptiles are even uglier. Hell, look at this headline from Media Matters just a few weeks ago. Fox News' Greg Gutfeld calls for the arrest of Dr. Jill as payback for the indictment of Donald Trump. Again, they wouldn't know a joke, even if it started with the words knock, knock. Here's the clip they were so offended by. I'm not that interested in locking up Hunter or Joe Biden, but the other side would lock up every one of us if they could, so let's go. Let's effing go. Let's take them out. Let's put them behind bars.
All of them, Pelosi,
all of them.
too.
Every Biden. Dr. Jill, she's not a real doctor. How long has she been practicing on patients, telling them that she's an actual doctor? Yeah. I guess you can't tell when someone's joking if you have no sense of humor. But that got picked up by these hacks who realize they can't write what they really want to write if they admit that it's a joke. So instead, they lie to their viewers or their readers. But you can see how nothing matters when your filter is preconceived and you're desperate for content. It doesn't make you a journalist. It just makes you a hole filler. Wake up, fill a hole, go home, cry yourself to sleep. You know, you'd be a lot happier if you worked on potholes. At least there, you'd have something to be proud of at the end of the day. And this ain't it, Jeremy. Let's welcome.
Now, I showed that for a purpose. That this is what they're writing about. This is what gets them upset, and they don't understand a joke, and you throw out that because the left doesn't have a sense of humor. But yet when they make some outrageous comment that they're serious about, and we call them on it, oh, it was just a joke, and he apologized. Yes, Jane Fonda has apologized to the Vietnam veterans for sitting on an anti-aircraft gun and carousing with the North Vietnamese, our enemies.
Well, I think
I'm sorry. Okay, that's okay, Jane. That's fine.
Well, I think the sad thing is they don't have a sense of humor, but at the end of the day, they're going to end up eating each other alive because they don't have any coping skills. They can't take a joke. We can take a joke. We can also, I mean, we take the brickbats every day.
Yeah.
So
all the bad things going on, all the things that this idiot could have written about, and he's writing because Greg says the little lady.
Well, you know, their feminism. They're so worried about feminism, except for when it comes to the trans movement. So
Yeah. Thanks, feminism.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you now? Where are you defending? Where are you defending the girls now? Where are you? You're a bunch of phony balonies, just like the environmentalists. Where are they with all the homeless people on the street that's dumping all this raw sewage into the rivers and the oceans?
Nowhere to be found because it doesn't fit the narrative.
I'll be darned.
Yep. And Steve Stanton, he says, I truly miss Greg Gutfeld, but Fox lost me with the Tucker ordeal.
I understand that.
Yep.
But I'm not going to penalize the rest of them.
Yes. I believe differently. I think that Fox has really turned into, I don't know that they always tell the truth. I have a huge issue with some of the stuff that they're reporting, but, you know.
I have an issue with everybody that like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but shame on Fox, though, because they were supposed to be the conservative outlet that you know, really spoke truth to power. And
well, Chick-fil-A stabbing us in the back with this diversity thing that they're going after. So when the kids take over the business, sometimes it ain't good.
Nope. It definitely is not, especially if they went to college. They're probably indoctrinated.
Yeah,
so.
That's probably one of the problems.
Yes, it is. It's a problem with most of our corporate companies.
We're going to continue to tell the truth, and we're going to solve some more of those problems on the Tuesday edition. We will see you then.
Yes, thanks so much for tuning in. Catch us on YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook. You can also catch us on Apple or Spotify, and also download our app, The Local Spin.
Stay real.